I'm going to explain neutral pelvis and spine to you. Give it a try at home. You can do it seated, standing. I generally find standing is a good place to start if you're new to this. Ground down into your feet. Feet about hip distance tends to work for most people, especially nowadays when we have quite a lot of tight lower backs. Pick up your toes, spread your toes out. Press firmly into the bottom of your big toe, little toe, and the center of your heel. Already you might feel a little bit taller. You're pushing the floor away as much as available. Checking into your knees, perhaps bending and extending a couple of times, and without locking your knees, growing tall. From here, there's a few steps we can try out to find neutral pelvis and then neutral spine. First, you might start with hands on your hips. Now you can do this without having your hands on your hips, whatever feels best for you. Rock your hips and pelvis back and forth. You might find you have a lot of movement here, or you might find there is a small range of movement. As you rock, you could imagine that your pelvis is like a fishbowl or a bowl of wine, your favorite margarita, coffee or chai. When we tilt our hips forwards, we might spill the bowl of water or the fishbowl. Yeah? And if you tuck too much, then the water still tips out through the back. So we're trying to find halfway between so everything stays really balanced. What does that mean? Tilting and tucking until you find a spot where your tailbone draws straight down towards the floor and your hip bones and pubic bone are in the same flat plane. You can find this by taking the heel of your hands and forming a triangle shape with your index and thumbs. Placing the heel of your hands on your bony hip bones and then rocking back and forth. Once you've found your 3 points of your triangle are in the same plane and your tailbone is down, you've found your neutral pelvis. Checking in here, your hips are facing forwards, and it's okay if one hip is naturally hitching slightly, but if you can, try to notice these small differences and finding whether that's something that could be worked on with muscle stretches or so on, or if that's just maybe naturally how your bones are formed. Okay? So don't force anything, and if it's sharp, uncomfortable pain, then you know, hey, ease out of it slowly. Take some time to get used to all these new shapes. So we found neutral pelvis. Let's see if you can find neutral spine. Grow as tall as possible through your spine, reaching the crown of your head up towards the ceiling whilst pressing down into your feet. From here, drawing up through your pelvic floor as if you were going to squeeze and hold in a wee. For gents out there, one way you could think about it is if you were stepping into an icy pool of water and you were lifting your crown jewels up a little bit. That's what I'm told works well. For everyone else, let's practice this a few times. Lifting through pelvic floor, squeezing, releasing. You should be able to breathe easily here. Let's try it again. Squeeze all the way, 100%, as if you were drawing an elevator up to the 10th floor, all the way. And then releasing down. Let's try to the 5th floor, 50% engagement, and release. 20%, 2nd floor, lifting your elevator up, and release. And then just 10 to 15%, gentle engagement through pelvic floor. All right, we try and maintain this here for 10 if you can. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, keep breathing, 1, relax everything down. So that's a brief explanation of your pelvic floor engagement. Next thing, before we can even move on to neutral spine, is what do we do through our core, your abdominals. So imagine if you were going to brace for a cough. That feeling of drawing your belly in slightly, you might feel your belly button going up and back slightly. Your ribs draw in a little bit, and both sides of your waist are very long. If this doesn't work for you, another way you can think about it is if you were going to prepare to be tickled through your belly. You're going to brace and maybe give yourself a poke through your belly. Okay. We found our pelvic floor engagement. We found our core. All of this protects your lower back and keeps you safe as you move through your practice. Checking in here that your lower back has that natural little curve. It's not too excessive and it's not too rounded. Grow a little bit taller, broaden your chest and collarbones. Your collarbones smile and your shoulder blades slightly drop back. And instead of dropping your shoulder blades all the way down, it's more of a gentle engagement, shoulders away from ears. From here, the next thing to check would be our neck. So draw your chin towards you, creating a double chin, as if you were pressing the back of your head towards the wall behind you, and release. Try this out a few times. You're finding a really long back of neck here. And instead of tucking your chin, it's actually pushing the back of your head back. And then finding center. Your earlobes are roughly in line with the corners of your shoulders, roughly in line with the back of your hip bone, down to the back of your kneecap, down to the back of your ankle bone. We have now found neutral pelvis and spine. Thanks for giving it a go. Practice a couple of times. Remember, it will take time for your body to get used to new shapes or ways of doing things. No pressure, keep practicing.